You've seen a dog in public wearing a service vet that had no business wearing one. I'm Em, a dog mom, former vet tech, and dog trainer who works with dog parents that love their dogs deeply and are learning to live differently because of them. Most of the time, you don't say anything because it's not your place, because you don't want to assume, because maybe you're wrong. So you clock it and you move on. But something about it stays with you because you know what you saw and you know it didn't feel right. I remember being in a store this one time. There was a dog in a vest, and the whole time I was in there, it was barking. Not once, not a quick reaction and then settle, the whole time. And at one point, someone walked a little too close and the dog lunged. Didn't make contact, but it was really close. And I remember thinking, that dog is not okay right now. Not because it was a bad dog and not because the person with it didn't care, but because that environment was asking something of that dog that dog had no way of giving. And I kept shopping because what do you do with that? And this isn't a one off anymore. Dogs invest on planes, in restaurants, in grocery stores. Some of them are trained, some of them clearly not. And the line between the two has gotten harder to see. Because here's what most people don't know. A service dog isn't just a well-behaved dog. It isn't just a dog that's calm in public. A service dog is task trained, trained to perform specific functions that help a person with a medical need move through the world more safely. Alerting to a seizure, guiding someone who can't see, sensing a blood sugar drop before the person feels it, interrupting a panic response, training that takes years, and it asks everything of that dog. A vest you bought online doesn't make a dog that. And this is where it starts to matter, because when an untrained dog enters a space that a working dog is in, everything changes. The working dog now has more to filter, more distraction, more unpredictability, more noise in an environment where they need to stay completely locked in. And the person on the other end of that leash, the one whose safety depends on that dog's focus, now has less margin, less reliability, less of what they came into that space needing. And I want to be really clear about something. Most people who do this aren't doing it to cause harm. They love their dog. They want to bring them along. They found something online that made it seem easy, and they didn't think past the vest. I understand that pull. I really, truly do. Because Fitz was a service dog in training at one time, and I wanted nothing more than to have him with me everywhere I went. But he didn't make it through. He washed. Not because he wasn't smart, not because he wasn't capable, but because those environments asked more of him than he could give. And I had to decide, was what I wanted worth what it would cost him? And the answer was no. Because loving your dog sometimes means leaving them at home. And that's the part that nobody talks about. Including your dog in everything isn't always what's best for your dog. And it isn't always fair to the people who depend on the real thing. A service vest is not an accessory. It's a medical device. And when we treat it like an accessory, the people who need it the most pay for it. And this is where it gets a little uncomfortable because maybe you've done this, or maybe someone you love has, and it didn't feel like harm. It felt like inclusion. It felt like finding a way. It felt like my dog is well behaved. So what's the real difference? And that question makes sense because from the outside, it's hard to see the difference. A well-behaved dog in a vest and a trained service dog in a vest can look identical until they don't, until something unexpected happens, until the environment shifts, until the dog that was holding it together can't anymore. And this is where people get stuck because nothing felt wrong in the moment. The dog was quiet, the dog was calm, nobody said anything. So you tell yourself it was fine. It probably didn't affect anyone. And maybe it didn't that one time. But the person who depends on their service dog to get through a grocery store or board a plane or sit through a medical appointment doesn't get to decide whether that distraction costs them something. They just absorb it and they keep going. and hope the next time is different. And in a lot of places, misrepresenting a pet as a service dog is considered fraud, which can mean fines, legal consequences, things that most people don't associate with something that felt harmless in the moment. And every time it happens, every time an untrained dog in a vest barks, lunges, or can't settle, it makes it harder for the real ones. Businesses become more skeptical, access becomes more contested, and the person who genuinely needs their dog to get through the day has to fight a little harder to be believed. So the question isn't, is my dog well behaved enough to do this? It's, who am I making this harder for when I decide it's okay? And if you've done this or someone you love has, this isn't about shame. Most people do it without understanding what it actually costs. Now you have the full picture, and that's enough. And if you're thinking about what actually helps a dog like Fitz feel more comfortable in the spaces that are right for him, I've pulled everything I use into one place, the Fitz collection. The link to our shop.pet store is in the description. And if this episode made you think about what your dog is actually experiencing in the spaces you bring them into, the Dog Body Language Secrets Quiz is a great place to start. Because understanding what your dog is communicating before something happens is what changes how you make those decisions. The link is in the episode description. So be kind, spread joy, and remember, loving your dog well sometimes means understanding what they need from you and what others need from us.